What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Dual Hemisphere Hangout. I am one of your hosts, Luke, and join with me every single week is my lovely co-host, Jake. Jake, say hello to the people.
What's going on, everyone? We've got a fun episode ahead. It's not going to be a lot of me, so if you don't like my voice, you're going to like this one.
Oh my gosh. I don't think anyone has a problem with your voice. I think your voice is like by far like the most intriguing part because they just hear me speak at the very they've never heard the podcast before and they didn't read the description. They're like, oh, I'm either expecting an Australian accent or just another American accent. Then you just come in with the most I would say you don't really have a super thick
Broad.
British accent, but
No,
you got a
just-
British accent and they're like,
I live in the hills.
Oh shit. They're like, oh shit.
I live in the fields. But yeah,
I think
Luke,
people love your voice.
This is going to be your episode of
Let's
basically
go.
teaching me Anime 101.
Yeah.
I don't, as we've said in previous episodes, but we'll just recap. In terms of anime stuff that I have watched, it's pretty much limited to what was mainstream TV on when I was a child. So Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z. I think that's about it.
Fair enough. Yeah. Now we were talking about it last episode, and we were talking about our hobbies and like how much I literally like my favorite medium to consume. Truly, for the honestly, most of my adult life has been anime, and it's really cool because Jake actually, like he said, he's not very knowledgeable on it, and we thought it'd be really cool for Jake to ask a couple questions, give him like a little anime 101. But before we even get started for that, Jake, I do have one question for you. When it comes to anime, what are your just initial thoughts without knowing anything beyond Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh? When you think someone's like, "Hey, I watch anime," what do you think? Like, what goes through your brain?
I'm not one of those people that's like, as soon as I hear anime, it's like, oh my god, it's hentai. It's like it's not.
You're doing better than most. All right.
Yeah, no. Like, I suppose the easiest way to put it is, you're into movies, but in my mind, you're into movies, but you don't want to watch it as a movie. You want it episodic.
Okay.
So you're really into your storytelling, I guess. And character building.
Yeah.
Which I'm not. Like, when I look to TV shows, I am just there for brain rot, really. Like, I'm there to just look at a screen and not have to focus on things. Which I get in some animes, you kind of have to understand what's going on. Like, I imagine that I can't just come in now on like episode 500 and just enjoy it. There'll be some like backstory to all of the characters, all of the like. It's a more complex. That's easy. That's the easier way of saying it. It's more complex than your usual just standard TV show.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, anime definitely. Like you said, you like we'll throw like One Piece for example, or just any like episode anime that has like multiple episodes. Honestly, you're not gonna hop in 6 episodes in because they're not really like minus like the original like run of Pokemon. Really that's about it. This is the only ones where the anime is like the storytelling is episodic for the most part. Like since like there's no like real consequences too much like other like in Pokemon, like Ash gets a gym badge or Ash beats this Pokemon or this Pokemon evolves. There's not like a whole lot of like what's the word I'm looking for? Congruency and contingency on like what's happening episode per episode. Things happen, but they have no real. No, sorry, the word I was looking for is consequential. There's nothing consequential happening where like if I start on episode 45 and Ash is beating the 5th gym leader, I know he's got 4 gym badges. And he beat the transmit. It's not like, oh my gosh, he's got a Grovyle because X, Y, and Z happened. No, he just is Trico evolved, Yeah. And that's changed obviously. The Pokemon anime has actually gotten like much more like in the anime-esque in its storytelling, which is why honestly some of the newer seasons are some of the best seasons when it comes to like just storytelling in general. But yeah, no, 100%. You cannot hop in the middle of an anime and be like, yeah, what's going on?
Um, okay, so
yeah,
I'll
Jake,
reel off
you
my
got
list. I've got
questions.
10.
Yeah.
I've got 10 and a bonus. Um,
Ooh.
so my first question for
Yeah.
learning anime is, what was the first anime you ever watched? It's kind of a double barrel
Okay.
question. And what is your
Okay.
best memory of that anime?
Oh man, everyone hits me with that. So, the best memory. So the question is favorite first anime, and what was my best memory of that anime? Okay.
Yes.
So it's kind of a weird question to ask. In the sense of, for me, um, I grew up just like you, Jake, watching Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z, pretty much the big three of childhood that was on Cartoon Network. So if I had to give you more of an accurate answer, it would be Pokemon. But I'm not going to say that because honestly, in my mind, to me, those are just cartoons. Like
Yeah.
people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, what is your?" And I'm pretty sure that's going to be one of the questions. You're like, "Oh, what's your favorite anime?" And I would say probably my favorite anime would be like Naruto or Dragon Ball Z, but I grew up with those. I did not think they were anime. So to give you more of an accurate answer to that question, the first anime that I watched, knowing that I was watching anime, I was a freshman in college. No, I'm sorry. I was a freshman in high school actually, and I watched an anime called Fate Stay Night. It is. I always like it's crazy to think about it, but it is called Fate Stay Night, and it knowing me as you know, Jake, I love history. I got my degree in history. This anime is about a thing happening in time called the Holy Grail War, where 8 people um, are selected to participate in this like free for all battle tournament, and they summon these heroic spirits which are from history's past. So we've got Gilgamesh, we've got people, we got King Arthur, all that fun stuff. Like they actually like fight each
Okay.
other, and it's actually a really, really, really cool like idea behind it. And so that was my first one that I knew going into like I'm watching an anime because someone mentioned it to me in high school. I was like, all right, at least let me see it. My favorite memory of that anime is honestly just the storytelling of it. Like it was really cool to see how these characters really interacted with each other. So the main character of that anime, his name is Emiya. He's just some high schooler whose father, technically speaking, like I always pick the most complicated anime because Fate is like the most complex anime. Like there's like a watch order and they all come out at different times. Like this whole complet, and that's a different question for another day. I used to answer that question like 10 times on TikTok because everyone had that question. But the character Emiya, he pretty much his heroic spirit is Saber, who is King Arthur. It's a female version of King Arthur, but it's still like, pretty cool. And it's just the relationship, how like they progress from beginning to trust each other. The spirit's strength is located to their master. There's the person who summoned them, and just the storytelling between that and the battles were really epic at the time. I mean, this show came out in 2006.
Okay.
I watched in 2008, so the anime it has not aged very well, but just watching it back then, the action was really fun. The storytelling was cool, and as a history nerd, being able to see some of my favorite characters in history just duke it out, like and sword combat and fighting was just epic, and I kind of fell
Everyone
in
knows
love
sword
with.
combat is better than
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
else.
it's
Like
it's
melee
so
combat
cool.
is like the best.
Yeah, so yeah, that would definitely be my favorite. Like just seeing those moments, man. There's a TikTok I have, and I'll have to I'll show it to you afterwards. But it's like me watching the show back, like me like when I was in high school watching it and seeing like this battle happens between the berserker who was Hercules and Saber fighting. I mean Archer fighting. It was just really cool having. And the guy called Archer is so cool because Archer, you would think he uses a bow, right? He's like, no, I'm not using a bow. He's gonna use a dagger. He's gonna use daggers instead because he's like not really like a bow guy. And it's so complicated and it's so good.
It's
but
okay.
like
It's okay.
it's so complicated, but it's so cool, man. And like the fact it's like, nah, I'm an archer, but I'm only gonna pull up my bow when I have to. I'm going hand to hand with my daggers. I'm like, yo, that's my man
So
right
you
there.
watched that on a recommendation from someone else?
Oh yeah, from a friend.
Yeah.
We were just talking about. I think we are just saying he's like, you should watch Fate Stay Night. I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, it's an anime. I was like, and of course I'm like, an anime. Like what? Like what is that? And it's like, what do you mean like that? I literally said like, what, that weird Japanese stuff. He's like, don't you like Naruto? He's like, don't you like Naruto? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's anime. It's like, oh. I was like, is it like, or it's like, I literally said, is it like Naruto? Is it? I literally said, is it cool like Naruto? And he's like, it's cooler than Naruto. I'm like, I don't know if there's anything cooler than Naruto, but all right.
Yeah, all right, sure, we'll go with that, I guess. Sure.
Right. I swear if I see any like actual like titties in this show, I don't know if I'm going to be happy or disappointed. I don't know. But thankfully, no titties. So I was not scarred yet. I did not see my first pair of pixelated titties until much later in my anime watching. So
leading on from anime boobies.
Okay.
Question 2. Who is your favorite anime character and why did they stand out to you?
Oh my gosh. So there's 2. See, that's the thing. Like, again, I don't want to go for the cop-out answer and say...
Do the cop-out and then do, like, a more realistic answer.
So, honestly, my favorite character is Naruto, from Naruto. He is, like... Literally, the idea behind him is, like, he is this orphan who's orphaned at a young age, and everyone hates him because of something that he was not able to control. So, he... is the container of the demon nine-tailed fox spirit, which destroyed the village that he's from. And so everyone hated him because he was the vessel for that. So he went through the most of his child life being neglected, treated terribly. And he's like, my ultimate goal is to become the best of the best. I want to become the Hokage, the leader of the village. And seeing him go from a kid who has a rival named Sasuke, and they are like rivals in the sense like they're friends and they're rivals, so they always pushed each other. And then seeing him go after his friend because his friend Sasuke decides to defect to the dark side because he wants to revenge. He wants to like get revenge on his brother for killing his entire family, which is extremely dark. But like that's why he's like, I need more power. I'm going to go to this bad guy who's going to give me this power. Naruto's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let you do that. They end up fighting. Sasuke ends up winning. Naruto loses. He goes to the bad side. And then the rest of the series, he's kind of like chasing it. He's like, I can't become this leader if I cannot save my best friend, like from this. And it's like, it's kind of like, everyone's like, it's a corny storytelling, but the fact that this guy went through his entire like young adult teenage life with this one goal of being the best, but knowing he cannot be the best until he saves his one best friend. And the fact that he ends up doing that and becomes the leader that everyone adores from going from this kid that everyone hates. I say it joke. I don't say this jokingly when I say it, but like Naruto is like a hero of mine. Like this fictional character is like literally is a hero of mine. Like I'm like his story, his arc and development, and someone who strives to reach his goals and wants to be better for everyone and wants to give people the things that he did not have as a kid and be that person that everyone looks up to, people that he could protect because no one at the beginning cared or protected him, is honestly some really powerful stuff. So cop-out answer, even though it's not really a cop-out, it's like, obviously you should say I gave you a very good explanation of why
just
Naruto
a fan favorite, right?
It's just a fan favorite character. Like, oh, of course it's Naruto. Or of course it's like Goku or something like that. The second one, if I had to pick one, I would probably go with his name is Edward Elric. He is the main character of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. He is one of my favorite characters because of kind of just like the same idea with Naruto. Like he is a very headstrong underdog kid who goes and moves the world to attempt to save his brother. So the whole story behind his character development and is that Edward and his brother Alphonse, their mother died. And in this world, alchemy is like a real thing, like actual alchemy. And one of the greatest sins in all of alchemy is human transmutation, basically bringing back the dead to life using alchemy. They attempted to do that to bring their mother back, and they paid the ultimate sacrifice. His little brother paid it with his entire body, and Ed paid for it with his arm and his leg, which is why he's called the Full Metal Alchemist, in the sense that he has a metal arm and leg. And he was somehow able to save his brother's soul and places it in a suit of armor. And the entire story, and I'm pretty sure we'll talk about Full Metal later, but they talk about his whole goal is to get his brother's body back because he knows they're not going to be able to bring back their mother because they saw that happen. And seeing just his determination, again, once again, just the bleeding heart. I don't know what it is about characters who have a bleeding heart, man. Maybe it's because I have a bleeding heart. Like in general, I think I literally love helping people. I like being able to. I want people to do better. I want to be able to help them and stuff like that. I don't know. I would say I'm a genuinely kind person. Unless you do something for me to not want to be kind to you, my first instinct is naturally just to want to help people. So, seeing that that character development and his story as the anime progresses, and him eventually reaching his goal of saving his brother, and he's self-sacrificing. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just something about those characters, man, that gives me. I'm like, I'm pretty sure if I had that ability, I'd probably be that person. So, but yeah. I would get those would be my two favorite characters. Yeah.
Number 3. If you could live in any anime world, which one would you choose?
Oh man,
I think this one is like
tough.
I feel like everyone would have the cop out of living in the Pokemon world, but nah, that's real, man. I want to walk around with a goddamn Pokemon behind me. I want to live in that world.
I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to do that at some point. Like maybe we won't be able to see it happen to fruition, but I think we're going to get to the point where that some AR or VR or some type of thing's going to be legit. Man, that's a tough question. Just to live in that world, should like there not be any like real consequences, like in the sense of I'm just living there, I'm like not
you're like an NPC, right? Like if you're like the Avatar, right? You're just living in the Fire Nation.
Yeah, so I would say so I would probably have to pick the world. It's called Aincrad. It's the first world in the anime series Sword Art Online. It's just like a little video game world, but in the sense like each floor is a different area, so be able to like, oh, there's one like I can go to the town beginnings, or I can go to the snow area. I don't know. I just like the world that the characters lived in during that first arc of Sword Art Online, which is honestly I would say like one of my first like 10 to 15 anime that I ended up watching and actually adored. But yeah, there's like I read a lot of the books that are associated with the show, and like the way they describe the world is like really pretty. The fact that you can kind of go in and out between places, you're not really just stuck in one area. And also it's like it's not necessarily super dangerous. Like if I were to take like in the sense like, oh, it's a dangerous world, I was like, kinda. You kinda like could die in there, but like it's not like you got crazy beasts and people wielding magic, although it's just some guys with some swords, and that's pretty cool. So I think I could live there. There's an area where you
be a little
fish,
shopkeeper, just watching the people with swords going by.
You literally can be a shopkeeper, a blacksmith, a butcher. Like literally, you could be anything in that world, and like that's why I think it's like, I could just be a little fisherman, just fishing in my lake. It's a nice little area where they where the two main characters like settle down for like 6 months, or they're like being like all lovey-dovey, and they're like just enjoying normal life, and they're like talking to this guy who's like, I'm trying to reel in the big fish. Like that's me as the NPC. I'm trying to catch the big fish
every day. I'm just here for the big fish.
I'm just here for the big fish. I want the drop, man. I want to get that golden fish. All right.
So number 4 you've kind of touched on. This is what is your all-time favorite anime series, and what makes it special to you? But like you kind of touched on Naruto. Is there like a close second?
So Naruto, funnily enough, again, when we talk about Naruto is my favorite character. When we look at the storytelling in Naruto, it's not my favorite anime. My favorite anime actually is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Because one, the length of it's digestible. It tells a complete story in about 64 episodes. And there's so much, like you talked about story development and characterization. And it's so really freaking cool what they decided to pull in the story. So to give like a brief overview of what Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is, yes, the main character Al's trying to get his brother's body back, and that's one of the main focal points. But outside of this, the world is just recovering. They just got out of a big war. It's kind of like a what's the word I'm looking for? kind of like talking about like this basically the world they're living in. They're living in like a world like kind of like a Europe Germany esque world where they
Okay.
just got a war. It's kind of like a play on like fascism and stuff like that. They're coming out of war after fighting this group of people where they basically murder them all. They're called the Ishfallen. Basically, it's like a synopsis of the Jewish people, where they use alchemy and they destroy lives, and it's very like it's all like it's extremely messed up, and that's like the dark secret of like the government that they're living in. Like they serve the alchemists serve the government, and it's basically the whole overarching plot is there's something going on in this government and this nation that they're trying to do. It's basically just that pretty much in the entire world, pretty much doomsday is going to be happening if they don't stop the issues. But it's the characters, man. You've got this one character. His name's Roy Mustang. He's kind of like the big brother figure in the show in the sense that he participated in the war. He did some really messed up stuff, and he's trying to redeem himself from that. He also is super cool. He's got the power of fire. Like he snaps his finger and fire. Dude, there's an awesome scene where he's fighting this person and he just burns them until there's nothing left, and it's just super epic. And then you got lovable characters like Armstrong, who's just this big buff guy who's just a big lovable guy. Like when he, it's funny is when he gets super excited, he's so like buff that his shirt rips and he just is shirtless half the time, which is super fun. Yeah, he's just that jacked. And then you got other characters like the main bad guys are the seven deadly sins. Like they're just these guys incarnate. And they have philosopher stones, which is just things that they're on the look for. They're trying to find a philosopher's stone so they can get back Al's body. But it turns out the philosopher's stone is made from human lives, which is why they started that war in Ishval so many years ago, so they could create these philosopher's stones too. They need a human life, so they killed an entire. It's like some really dark, messed up stuff. But like the main villains are the seven deadly sins, and it's really just an awesome storytelling about these people who are. They don't want to serve the people that they're currently serving in the sense of like they know their country is messed up and they need to do something about it. And the characterizations that you see play out throughout the entire series. And it's done in 64 episodes, which honestly, for an anime sake, honestly isn't that long. Most anime, like really long running shows, are usually like 100 plus. So it's a good sweet 64. Yeah. You get all these characterizations, the storytells complete, and you get a full experience. And there's a reason why most people would probably say Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is one of the best, if not the best anime of all time. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a big fan of it. Like most people would say, like it's like in the top 3 to top 5 of the best ever made. And there's a reason for it. And kind of like what I touched on, it's just a complete show with great characters. The openings are bangers. The music's amazing. The acting's amazing. And yeah, it's my favorite for a reason. It's so good.
Popping on to number 5.
I have a whole shrine. my top shelf. Ignore the Trunks figures, but the next shelf right below it is literally the entirety of the manga, the Blu-ray box sets, and like anything Full Metal Alchemist like related. It's like right on that back shelf right there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Number 5. What genre of anime do you watch the most often? Would it be like action, romance, fantasy? Like, I know you've touched on a lot of action stuff, which probably leads into that.
That would be it. It would be action. I would say action adventure. So it's so funny to talk about the genres of anime because there's so many. So there's like an anime. It's called shonen, and that's like shonen is usually where you're more action paced anime, but in Japanese, shonen means for basically young men, for young boys. It's like a teenager, like it's just meant for like teenage boys. And then they have another one which is called shoujo, which is meant for the teenage younger, for the female audience. And so there's so many different anime styles out there. I would say probably my favorite is just like the shonen action. I like just action packed anime. I'm literally watching an anime right now called Windbreakers, and it's literally about this gang of high schoolers that just fight each other, and it's just super cool, man. It's just some stupid brain rot, punchy punch stuff. Yeah. And then I love Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, like the big shonen, like everyone's favorite stuff like attack, like Demon Slayer, My Hero, a lot of fun stuff in there. But I like I'm getting to the point now where in my anime watching, I'm liking more of this it's again, there's so many different terminologies, but it's called seinen, which is for like adult male, technically speaking. Again, it's all like, again, I'm not saying you have to be a man to watch this show. I'm just saying it's just more in Japan, they're targeting it to more
adult audience, not like in terms of like mature
adult.
content, but like I imagine more
Yeah,
subject matter, like
yeah.
politics.
You're not gonna see a bunch of hot men in that show. Like that's you know, it's like it's kind of the thing. You're not the whole purpose is like it's to appeal to more of a adult male demographic. That being said, anime is for everyone. You can enjoy whatever you want. But I like that. So it's because again, I'm not in high school anymore, which is very fair. I'm a 31-year-old man.
Yeah, we have to do mundane life now.
Yeah, we have to do mundane life. So I like the ones where like the main protagonist is like either in university or out of university, and they're not like, I'm a high schooler guy. I'm 16 years old and I'm going to be the next best thing. I like the little bit more, the more mature stuff. So like Attack on Titan is a big example where it's like super like dark and super more targeted, you know, to more people as well. And then sometimes I just like a chill. They call it slice of life, and it's just anime about people just doing literally everyday shit. Like I watched an anime about these characters making an anime. Like it was like
Inception. Just like, you know what? Let's create this.
And it was so good. It literally is about these characters talking about how like it's called Shirobako. It's about like this group of like girls who like are working in an anime studio, and they talk about like it's an anime about the process of making anime. They talk about like how they do have the sketching and how they have to get out these episodes by specific deadlines and how they have to get the music
like the podcast.
and they do like voice cat. It's like super meta, man, and I love that stuff. And there's like one, it's like it's called Yuru Camp. And it's really about these girls that camp. And it's so sweet. It's just some mundane ass stuff. So I like it all, man. I like your mecha. I like your sci-fi. I like a little bit of it all. But if you're to be like, hey, what are you gonna watch? I'm like, it's probably gonna be your typical, more action-based now, directed towards people a little bit more in my age demographic.
Yeah. Cool. So, following on, number 6. Are there any animes that you think are underrated and deserve more attention?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I don't go on a complete tangent here. Because I could probably talk about like half my anime viewing where I think it's like underrated and people need to watch it. So I'm gonna just stick to 2 just for the time's sake of the podcast, because I could be here for 2 hours talking about these underrated shows that no one's ever freaking watched. So the first one I would have to say, and this one's in my top 5. It's like number 5 in my top 5 favorite anime. It's called Blast of Tempest. It is one of those shows where I was just like, what is this thing? Because again, that's the English translation. The Japanese translation is Zetsuen no Tempest. And I was like, what the heck is that? That's just sort of rolls off the tongue. And people were like, yeah, this is a pretty good show and stuff like that. I was like, all right, well, let me see what it's about. And it is the most, it's just such a good show in the sense, like it's loosely based off Shakespeare's The Tempest and Hamlet. So like there's a lot of that storytelling in it, which is like super cool. It starts off with basically the world pretty much ending, and they are trying to stop again this kind of apocalypse happening. It's 2 friends, but at the end of the time, there's also like this mystery about the 2 friends. One of the friends is in love with the best friend's sister, and they were in like a secret relationship that they were keeping from the brother who's his best friend. And so somehow the girlfriend dies, and like everyone's like, that's the big mystery, like how'd they die, what's going on. And so the first 12 episodes is kind of like talking about how the world's ending and what's going into that. And then the next 12, they're like, okay, we stopped the world from ending, but now we're getting to that actually, like what actually happened. So there's a lot of storytelling. It's a fun ride. I don't want to spoil a whole lot of it because there's one that not a whole lot of people have watched. So I don't mind like keeping that one close to the vest. but it's like one of my favorites. It's the opening's a banger, man. I love the opening too. Like I just hear that guitar riff going. I'm like, oh, we're ready for a freaking ride. I've rewatched that show like 3 times. It's so good. And then the second one I would have to recommend, and I'm actually really happy because it recently got a. I'm not sure if they did a readaptation or there's like a new season of it, but it's called Spice and Wolf, and it's about this. It's kind of more of a slice of life kind of thing going on as well, where it's about this wheat merchant who sells wheat, and it's basically like a nice little romance anime about how he and this fox spirit or this wolf spirit, excuse me, name um Holo definitely comes in and they just go out and they do tasks. This guy's just a merchant. He's just selling stuff. He's just a merchant. And like they get into some shenanigans because yeah, they get into some shenanigans because she's like this wolf goddess spirit that's supposed to bring good harvest to everyone. And so everyone wants her because again, she's kind of like this spirit. And so, but he's also kind of like balancing like the fact that like he's kind of falling in love with this girl and how she's like kind of like she's mischievous and stuff like that, but she's starting to have feelings for him. And the first couple seasons of it that came out like God, I want to say like 2010, 2011. Like there was nothing more. Yeah, there was nothing after these last 2 seasons, and it's a really good show that I feel like not a lot of the again people who started watching anime around like the mid 2000s, early 2010s era, they probably have heard of Spice and Wolves. This is more for like the newer generations who are getting into it like 2020, like post COVID, where we've had this big like anime boom, like animes everywhere after COVID. And I feel like it's just one of those ones that are something, but I think there is a new readaptation or a continuation. If it's a readaptation, go watch it. It's probably just as good as the first one. And then, and also just to touch on the again, music for me is a big thing in general. And the music, the soundtrack, the OST, like what's going on behind the scenes is like top notch as well. So yeah, Blasted Tempest and Spice and Wolf would be like my two like underrated shows where I feel like not a lot of people have watched them, and they should definitely give them a watch for sure.
Nice. Number 7. Are there any animes you've tried to watch but couldn't get into?
Yeah, there's actually quite a bit. So one thing about me is now as a grown ass adult, I don't have every time in the world where I can sit down and force myself to watch a show that might not be that great. I've tried, and I've done it a couple times, and I've watched some pretty terrible anime. And it's not because they were so bad it was good. It's just because they were just baddest, and I just like, well, I'm already like 6 episodes in. I got to at least finish it at this point. So, yeah, to name a couple, there's just some really bad ones I've watched. One of them would have to be it's one called Mars Attacks. It's really terrible as well. Oh god, there's another one. It's called NTR Trap. It's literally about these people that are cheating on each other. It's just bad. I'm like, what is this? I cannot. Yeah, like people are cheating on each other and like they're okay with it. I'm like, I feel dirty watching this. I'm not watching this anymore. I would probably say the most popular one that I have tried repeatedly and I can just not bring myself to finish it is it's an anime called Fairy Tale. It's not like it's bad. Like it's not a bad show. It's just not I just can't get into it anymore. Like I watched a good amount of it and I'm like I was a joke with my roommate back home in Virginia Beach at the time. Like every year I would try to finish this one episode of Fairy Tale. And every time I can't do it, and it was like a running gag. I'm like, oh, I got through 3 minutes of it, and I'm like, oh, got through 2, and I just couldn't get through it. And then another one, this one's kind of unpopular in the sense of like a lot of people really like this, and I don't know why it's slipping my mind. Oh yeah, I remember now. It's called Noragami. Everyone and their mother. I don't know if my buddy Scoob would listen to this one, but if he's listening to this one, I just want to let you know he tried to make me watch this anime so much. I was like, it's trash. I'm not watching Origamis. It's awful. I don't want to watch it. I was being a hater. I was being a hater, and it's just like, oh, everyone's like, it's so good, and I'm like, it's overrated. I don't want to watch this. It's probably not that good. And so he made me watch the first, like, I think I watched the first 4 episodes with him, And he was like, "Do you want to keep watching it?" I'm like, "What happened? They've done nothing has happened in 4 episodes." Like, I know, I have no desire. I was like, "Well, you weren't even paying attention." Like, and whose fault is that? It's not my fault I wasn't paying attention. It's the show's fault for not being good for me to give a damn about the piece of shit. No hate to people who like Noragami. I will say, like, if you like Noragami, I'm not trashing on your show. It's just the fact that it's just really not. It was, I don't know what it was. I'll admit that the opening is a banger, but like I just didn't care about the plot or what's going on. People were like, "Oh, it gets good after this episode," and I'm like, and he's like, "Oh, we got through it. What did you think?" It's like, "Well, I'm still not. I don't care." It's like, so I guess it's just not for me. Like,
Yeah,
I always give people
it
the benefit of the
happens,
doubt
man.
with like, yeah, they're like, "Hey, if you get to this episode, like, and you know, I say with Full Metal Alchemist, if you get through the first 12 episodes and this thing happens in the show, and you don't care that this thing happened, then just drop it at that point because it's clearly not for you because that's where the plot's taking you." And so I say the same thing with like One Piece and other shows like that. One Piece is an exception. One Piece, you have to get through about 64 episodes of boring shit to happen. But the second you get through it, and there's one scene that happens, it's like it gets you to the point where like, oh shit, like it's about to go down. Like if you don't care when that scene happens and it doesn't move you in some sort of way, you're like, all right, then One Piece is not for you. It's the same thing with any anime. It's like, it takes like 3 episodes to get good, or after like just give it 6 episodes, and if you don't care about this thing that happens, then it's just not for you. And it's the same thing with Noragami. Like they said, it gets good after 4 episodes. The fourth episode happened. I was just like, I just don't care about these characters. The plot's not moving me. It's not for me. And so, yeah, I would probably just have to say a lot of those ones that I mentioned, Fairy Tale specifically, show was great. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed like the first like 150 episodes, but I just can't get through the next 150. It's just not, I'm in an arc where I just don't
It's a
care.
big
Like, you can
commitment.
skip it. Like,
It's
you
a
can
big
skip it.
commitment.
I'm like, I was like, I don't want to
No, you
skip it.
can't.
It's like I can't skip to get to the good parts. Just give it to me now. But yeah, so I would have to say
Cool.
those two specifically are ones that I've watched and I've tried to watch, and I just couldn't get into.
So coming in hot at number 8, what is the longest anime series you've watched, and did you feel it was worth it?
Yeah, so yeah, the longest anime I've watched, and I think a lot of people who've actually watched this show would have to say it's One Piece. I have not finished One Piece. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna pull it up real quick. Give me 1 second. I will tell you what
Oh,
episode I'm on.
he's getting the stats.
And to be fair, I have not watched One Piece in about 2 years, and it's not because I don't care about it. It's
But how long is an
solely
episode of One Piece?
20 minutes.
And how many episodes?
About almost, closing in on probably close to 1,000 plus. Like we're like around like 1,100. So the last episode I'm on episode 731 of One Piece. And it's great. Don't get me wrong. I love One Piece. It's really good. I've not finished it, but right now I'm pulling it up on Crunchyroll, and there are, let's see,
700 times by 20 minutes.
1,100 there's currently on Crunchyroll. There are a total of 1,122 episodes of One Piece.
1,122 times by,
I would say 20.
That's 22,440 minutes. Divide that by 60. That's 374 hours.
Yeah.
Divide that by 24. 15 and a half days of continuous content. Nah.
That's crazy, man. It's a
Hats
commitment
off to anyone that has watched that from start to finish. Jeez.
It's really like, the thing is, like, the people who start, like, again, One Piece is a special. Like, it's just a special show. So why I've got the flag hanging on the background back there, the Straw Hat Pirates, man. But yeah, One Piece, it's long, but it's good. Like, it just really is. There's always some highs and lows, and like one thing about anime, longer anime, they have like a formula they have. Like, so One Piece is like they get to this new island, they all get separated, they all find each other, they fight the big bad guy, Luffy fights the big bad guy, Luffy gets some power up, maybe. They fight. But the storytelling in it is really good. So again, with the anime, it's the characterization of it. Like, I have cried watching One Piece more than 5 times. Like, and I don't cry for, okay, I will say I do cry quite a bit during shows. I don't know what it is. I can't cry when it comes to personal stuff, but watching something on TV will make me cry. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's my way of letting all my deep and emotions that I'll never show to anyone in person, but I'll show it to my damn TV screen. Um, but I've cried like 6, 7 times at One Piece. And the thing about One Piece, for me specifically, is I didn't start watching One Piece till about 20 for like in 2021. I started watching it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna finally give it a chance. It's on Netflix. It's in HD. Like I'm really big about my like anime. I wanted to look nice. I didn't want to watch it like back from when it was airing in 1998. Like I just want to see like nice HD. And it got me, man. It's the characters, man, the storytelling. Like, and the thing is, I knew where certain things were going because, like, if you've never watched One Piece, like, it's one of the most popular shows ever. So you see spoilers here and there. Like, I knew that there was a time skip. I knew that such and such. I knew that this person died here, and I knew this thing happened and this thing happened. It did not take away from my enjoyment. I was still heartbroken, shattered, shocked, sickened, sad by the things that I was seeing. It was to the point where I remember watching this one episode. And for those who've watched One Piece, it's during the Sabayoti arc. And I'm not going to spoil what happens, but you know what happens in that arc towards the end and how, like, if you did not know what was happening, I literally knew there was a time skip. And to my mind, everyone in that show was dead. Like, and I knew that that was happening. Like, they weren't really dead, but it felt like they were dead. And I'm like, that not too many shows can do that. Like, you know what's going to happen, but you still feel like the guttural pain that this character is going through. Like, this is like, I was heartbroken seeing the main character being heartbroken over this thing happening. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this show's over. Like, how do they bounce back from this? And I know they bounce back from it because the show's been going on for fucking 30 years at this point. It feels like not really like 20 years at this point. It's been going on since I was like 10 years old. And like, it still got me. I'm like, damn, like if that's not a good show, storytelling, it 100% is. So One Piece would be the one that I've watched the longest. I haven't finished it. The ones that I finished would probably be Naruto. Naruto's right around 720 episodes, but that's my favorite, one of my favorite shows. I've rewatched Naruto like 10 fucking times. So like, like, but it's like my favorite thing. So it's like things I can be like doing something and I know exactly what's happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've probably rewatched Naruto entirely like 5, like I did not 20, but like at least upwards about 6 to 7 times fully. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
The last 2 questions are fairly quick.
Okay.
Do you prefer watching dubbed or subbed anime? Dubbed or subbed?
That's like you gave me like you think it's a quick. This is a tough one. No, now I prefer dubbed because the dubbing process of animes improved greatly. Before, some of the dubbing was really bad. Like it was just not good. The voices didn't match up. And it's good. But a lot of the newer shows, specifically, like again, I always like take COVID. Like after COVID, the dubbing process got. And basically what happened is at least in the English, a bunch of anime studios got bought up by Sony, and now everyone's kind of like working semi together. It's not as like this studio's doing this one, they're doing this one, they're doing this one, da 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 da. As like one dubbing area, they've got like 2 or 3 now versus like 10 at the time. So everything's getting dubbed. There's a much more smoother process. And with Netflix getting anime, like Netflix goes all out on their shit. They just that's what Netflix does. The dubbing process has gotten really good, so I don't mind watching shows in dubbed. That being said, it also just depends on how I like the voices of the characters, right? So I won't watch, like I can only watch Naruto. I can watch the first part of Naruto in English because that's what I grew up with, but I cannot watch the second part in English because I watched it in Japanese, and the voices for the characters just. That's what I know.
Completely different. Yeah.
Completely different. Like I did not watch Dragon Ball Super for the longest time because I could not stand the Japanese voice actor because that's not what I was used to. So it just also depends on when I started. So if I start watching it in Japanese, and unless the voice acting is like completely terrible, which 9 times out of 10 it's not, it usually just depends on who's voicing the main character. If I can stand the main character's voice, I'm pretty good. But it depends on how I started. But nowadays, I would say if it's got a dub option, I'm going to go with the dub first. And if it doesn't, I'll watch it in sub, and I'll probably be fine watching the sub. But I guess now I would say I prefer dubbing because it's gotten better over time.
It's a good point. I didn't think about that actually. When like
Yeah.
you do get it where times where unfortunately like voice actors die or they retire,
Yeah.
and they try and continue the show with a different voice, and it isn't right, and you can't you lose the relationship to the characters. It's one thing I hadn't thought of, so that's a really good point.
Yeah,
Number
for sure.
10, second to last because we've got a bonus. If you had to pick an anime soundtrack to listen to on repeat, which one is it?
So, okay. So by soundtrack, so this is my question for you. Are you talking about like, okay, so with anime, I don't know if you've watched like a lot of, you probably haven't, you've watched Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Z has the same fucking opening. So the soundtrack, like the OST, like has like the music background, the background music, some like the set piece, like the guitar riffs when characters are talking. Are you talking about that? Or are you talking about the like songs that are associated with the animes, like the openings that play? That
When I say like
episodes?
OST, it's the whole shebang, like including the intro bit, like because that is part of the original soundtrack. It's probably a hard one. But yeah, like what's like the best music you've heard? Like like when you get into like a massive like boss fight, and you hear that like it's usually like some big orchestral like violins, cellos going, and it's like dun 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 dun, and then the bass comes in.
Hold on, I'm thinking. All right, so gave me a good one, man. There's so much.
Save the best till
last. The music, man, is just so good. Like, it's what really draws people into anime. I would say probably some of the best OST in anime. It's gosh, I sound like such a cop out when I say it, but it's like for me, it's Naruto. For me, it's Naruto. Yeah. Like they have like the Naruto openings are like 10 out of 10. The Naruto endings, most of them are pretty solid. But it's like the back when characters enter, like they have their own freaking music. Like everyone knows when this character is just what's happening, right? Like Pain, for example, one of the main characters, he has this like orchestrate like when he walks in the room, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know that like just by the music, like, this guy is like tough shit. Like anytime like a really strong character comes in, like they've got their own thing. When like they're chilling in the leaf, like they're having fun. There's like a fun little groovy jazz playing when they walk. It's like, all right, like they're not in danger right now. We're having a good time, and then there goes like a dum. And you're like, oh shit, something's going down. And it's just I mean, maybe it's just because it's so memorable to me. That's why it's probably my favorite. But yeah, I mean, the like it's just a classic, man. It just sticks out because it's one of my favorites and one of the ones where I could probably sit down and think about it a little bit harder, but we've got, things to do. We don't have 10 minutes for me to ponder every anime soundtrack I've listened to. But I would say probably the best like overall package would be Naruto. If I had to say what anime have the best openings, that's really tough as well. But I would say, I mean, it sounds like it's a cop out because I'm saying my favorite anime, but like literally the Full Metal Alchemist like openings and endings are like 10 out of 10. Like there's a scene in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood where something happens and the song that plays it starts off with "Let It All Out," and like it's like this like kind of like thing like, hey, we're letting it all out. And like when that scene happens and you just hear the little instrumental starting for the opening or the ending where it's about to hit, goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps now thinking about it. Like I literally have goosebumps on my arm thinking about it. But like that stuff, man, like their openings and endings for Full Metal Alchemist Brother are like really solid as well.
Cool. And then the final bonus question, because we like games here. Best anime that has been done as a game.
Oh my gosh, the best anime-esque game. That's a great question, Jake.
Because like Dragon Ball just had a recent one, right? That looked pretty good.
If you're asking
Avatar's got a game.
You gotta stop saying Avatar, man. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Pokemon's got a game. Like
Pokemon was a game first before it was an anime.
Yu-Gi-Oh has a game.
Yeah. See, that's tough, man. I'm thinking about it. I would say I don't know, man. It's tough. Because I haven't played a whole like the main anime s games I played. They're all fighting games, so they all kind of
Yeah.
play the same. Um, I would say when it comes to just you feel like you're playing the game and you're playing and it's the anime itself. It would have to probably be like the Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z Kakarot or the new Sparking Zero game. Like when you're playing that game, it literally feels like you're playing in the anime. Like that's just how good the graphics look. But they do a retelling of Dragon Ball Z called through Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. It's like an RPG version of the game, and that's actually a lot of fun as well. You play the entirety of Dragon Ball Z. It's actually really well done. Anime is really good as well. So, I mean, honestly, I would say probably the Dragon Ball Z games are
Yep.
probably the top notch. The Naruto games aren't bad at all either. They're really fun, but again, these are just again most of the
Combat.
anime games they are just fighting games. So, like if the combat's good, it's good that it's got a story mode where if you see in the anime, you get to relive the battles from the anime. So there's no like hardcore esque like this game is from the anime and it's really well done. If
Let's
I were to have
twist
to
it
say,
slightly then. One
okay.
anime you'd love to be made into a game.
Oh. uh, the thing is, like, I feel like a lot of them already have been made, but they're like not good. They're just like not, or they never came over to the States. Because I know Full Metal Alchemist has one. Um, honestly, would love it if so. There's an anime I've talked about it before. It's called Sword Art Online. The whole premise of the game, the show, is the fact that these characters are playing a game. Is a VR like virtual reality. Like basically, they put in their game, their conscience goes into the game. They can take their headset off, and that they get stuck in that game, like because they can't remove it. Like it's like a life or death. Like the only way they can get out is by beating the game or by dying. But the whole cool thing about it is like if they could actually make a VR game that looked just like that, in this sense, I would buy it. Like if they made like a VR Sword Art Online where, hey, instead of actually like being stuck in the game, like you can get off whenever you want, but you get to go live in this world, you get to go fight the bosses. I think that would be sick. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all. I think it's honestly something within a couple of years they can definitely do. But I would like a really cool Sword Art online game because they have a bunch of them out there. They're mid, they're not like great, but like ones where you could actually just pick your avatar and you get to go live in that world, experience the same thing some of the characters experience.
I mean, yeah, it's
I
full
think it'd be
immersion at
pretty
that
sick.
point, right?
Yeah, I think that. I think that'd be pretty cool, and I'm surprised if they've done it. I'm not 100% sure, but if they've done it, they haven't done it well enough for me to hear about it. So get on that, Japan. So,
And that wraps up my questions.
all right,
You have taken me
Jake,
through. I've got some recommendations. I'm gonna
Let's
go watch
go,
Avatar.
let's go. Oh my gosh! No. Before we even go, because Jake's been saying it all podcast episode. Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you want to call it anime, I have no problem with it. But if you do, just know there's a lot of people out there who are not tolerable like me and will be like, yeah, that's an anime. They're like, no, it's not. And it's only because, like, again, most anime people are just anime fans. A lot of them are just they're stuck up a little bit in the sense of like they're like, I know what anime is, and like they like it's whatever. But like if you enjoy it and you want to call it anime, whatever. But like the only reason why it's not technically an anime is because it wasn't made in Japan. It was made over in fucking Canada. But that's the main reason. But like honestly, like if people want to call it anime, like whatever, I have no problem. Avatar is great. Don't get me wrong. Like Avatar is amazing. I think the thing is, like, I think we can get to the part. Now, I'll wrap it up with this, though, just to put a nice little bow on this anime discussion. All right. A nice little bow on it. All right. I hope we get to the point where we don't have to call it anime and we just call it a fucking TV show. Hey, I just watched this movie and it's called this. It's animated. Hey, I just watched this show and it's animated, right? Like, I want to be able to be like, hey guys, I just watched freaking Death on Mars and it was this super cool space show that was animated. Like, I think that's where I think also we're gonna get to the point where maybe that is a thing that happens. Like I get anime as a genre, and that's fine, but you don't hear people like, "Hey man, did you just watch the new horror show? Hey, did you just watch the new uh chick flick? Did you just watch the new dating show?" Like, no, they just call it what the show is, and then people are like, "Oh, what's that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's an anime, or it's anime, or hey, it's a dating show, or hey, it's a thriller." Like, no one's like, "Oh, what is Sherlock about?" Like, what is
Yeah.
Sherlock? Oh, is that an anime? Like, they know it's just a show. And so, like, I think we're gonna get to that point. I really hope we get to the point where we don't have to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm watching this anime." Like, I'm just watching the show. I want to be the point where I'm talking to my roommate. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just watching the show," and it's just a show, and it's just yeah, it just happens to be anime, but like it's just a normal show. And I think that's the whole purpose behind it. It's a medium. It's a television. Like we don't talk about this genre game. We don't like, hey, I'm playing this sports game. Hey, I'm playing Madden. Hey, I'm playing Call of
Yeah.
Duty. You know, like I want to get to the point when we're like discussing things where I'm not first, yeah, I'm watching this show. It's an anime. I want to be like, no, I'm just watching this show. And I think we're getting to that point. I really do. But I think it's pretty cool that anime's gotten to the point where it is now becoming just like gaming, more of an acceptable media. I think a lot of people see it every single day now, and I think it's really cool. And I hope that, and I think I don't even hope. I just feel like more people in general are going to try it more. And if I had to give any last minute recommendations or advice to someone who wants to start watching the medium of anime, I would say go out there, and when you're looking through Netflix through the anime category, look for the text. Read a description, and if it sounds cool, just click on it. I would say give it 3 episodes, and if you like it after three, keep watching it. And if you don't have to, but don't just like choose not to watch something because it's anime, because anime in general have some of the best storytelling characters, and you can get away with a lot more because it's animated versus live action. And I think that's one cool thing about anime as well. And man, there's just some anime that are just gosh darn beautiful, man. Like it's we even get on some of the anime movies, and that could be a whole other episode. But yeah, some of the movie budgets of some of these anime films, man, like 10 out of 10, blows your pants off in all the right ways, kind of stuff right there. But yeah.
Cool.
So, Chick, are you gonna watch an anime now?
Yeah, I might do.
All right, let's go.
Probably start on One Piece, maybe. I've got a long way to go, 15 and a half days.
Hey,
I watched the live
we'll
action,
back.
so
We'll touch back. We'll touch back.
Do
in 20
homework
years, man, when
next year.
Yeah. Next year we'll right back. January 31st, 2026. You're gonna tell me what episode you're on, and if you're like, yeah, I'm on episode 40. 40. Or if you come back and say, yeah, I finished it, man. I finished the entire thing. I'm like,
Yeah,
are you okay, sir?
Hardcore
No wonder you missed.
I don't have a job.
No worry. No worry, you missed a couple podcasts. You're busy watching One Piece.
Oh no, but that's it for Anime 101, guys. We hope you really enjoyed.
Let's go, guys.
We might do another one at another point when I catch up, if I get the time. But as always, we'll see you all next week for another episode of the Hemisphere Hangout. We'll catch you all then. Bye-bye.
Bye.